fit.
You know, in one way or another, we're all members of the human race.
That's correct.
We gotta live day by day. And most of us try to figure what's the most sensible way to spend your time. You know, we just don't want to waste it. And I think the point that Bevel here is making is that there's an awful lot of misery in the world, some of which affects black people, some of which affects white people. And you can't understand why, as an intelligent white man, you spend your time promoting an organization that doesn't know what kind of integrity it's protecting when it's protecting some kind of white integrity, when instead you should be focusing on the big problems, on the real problems.
Well, I have offered what I think is a solution, is to sit the Negro leaders and the Klan leaders down at the conference table and find out what the problems are, find out where these poverty conditions exist and try to eliminate them like I did in Georgia.
Why didn't you call this meeting together in 1960 when you became the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in Georgia?
Well, I mean, 1960.
Why didn't you call it?
Well, the Reverend Bevel over here was just a little man on the totem pole, just like I was.
Why didn't you call it? In 1960, you were the Grand Dragon. Why didn't you call the meeting yourself?
I've repeatedly asked. I asked Senator Leroy Johnson.
Why ask somebody else to do it? Why don't you do it?
Well, I can't do it.
Why can't you? You can send out invitations. You can issue press releases by the gallon.
Well, can you ask the governor? I asked the governor for a public statement. I asked the President of the United States to do it.
But you haven't done one thing as an individual or as the Grand Dragon of the Klan to actually promote this kind of social intercourse with Negroes in your own state or your own city.
When you appeal to the Negro leaders,
Have you done one thing?
When you appeal to the Negro leaders, when you appeal to the governor, when you appeal to the President of the United States, how further can you go?
I think you're doing a great job of appealing and a very poor job of calling together a group of people. We've got one agreement here.
Reverend Bevel, you have made the statement publicly here that you know the identity of the people that have burned the churches down in Terrell County.
No, I never said I knew the identity of the people who burn the churches. In fact, I know the people who terrorize the meetings and intimidate people.
I thought you said churches now.
All right.
I believe if we check back on the record.
I'm sorry, it is over now, but I still say that we have the basis for some kind of conference, some kind of desire to work together. I think we all want to be optimists. I don't know if we're being realists.
Well, you know, I don't know, but I could tell that everyone's falling away against me in this run. I don't know anymore.
I think that maybe you two ought to shake hands on the fact that you're going to have this conference right now. Maybe this might be the way.
No.
Why don't you reach out and shake his hand?
No, that's pretty desperate.
And when you're back in Atlanta, then
at the conference table.
Listen, we'll both be fighting against poverty. I won't be fighting against white people. You won't be fighting against Negroes.
But you got to have a meeting first before you do that.
No.
Listen, why don't you shake his hand? Are you afraid to?
No, it ain't that.
Are you afraid to shake his hand?
No.
Well, then why don't you do it?
You know, you're a very good-looking man. I didn't know you was with all that stuff on.
All right, listen, you guys. Listen, you got a pretty funny hat, too. Are you going to shake on this fact that we got a deal here?
Listen, I think, you brought me up here. I think you owe me for this.
Now, listen, I want to understand that you want to hold a conference to solve these problems.
I've repeatedly asked.
And I want to know if you're going to do it or you're just going to talk about it.
I've repeatedly asked.
I think that you two should shake hands on the fact that you've got a deal here and then get together back in Atlanta.
You know, I think what you're doing is you're trying to throw shame on him.
Oh,
and
shame
you're trying
on
to
both
throw
of you.
shame on me.
Just shake hands.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Grand Dragon of Georgia, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. He told us he rather liked that young Negro fella, but he never did shake his hand. Good night.